I remember I had. Oh, I think this is it. I tried to make this into a joke, or a story, but like this was right before COVID locked everything down. I was at the Grammy Awards in LA, and I'd flown in and I had to fly out that night, but I was presenting, and there was this red carpet, and you go down the red carpet, and everyone's dressed like they're, at a cosplay event, right, or a cosplay event, and I'm just like in a suit, and so like, and no one wants to talk to me, like they want to talk to like Taylor Swift, or, and so they eventually brought me over to like Grammy.com. And they're like, here, Grammy.com wants to talk to you. And so then they're like dressed in evening gowns, but it's just so weird. And so they're like, why are you here? And I'm like, well, I'm here. I'm nominated for Best Female Vocalist. And they're like, oh, here, we have your award. And this is at the beginning of the pandemic, like before, like it was just affecting Italy and China. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they gave me this water bottle. And I was like, I don't want that. That's filled with COVID. It wasn't funny. Even back then, it wasn't funny. And so I was like, and they're like, ha 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 ha. And so then I went in and I was introducing Camilla Cabello. I'm still mispronouncing it. And so I was like, with my manager, I'm like, is it Camilla Cabello? And he's like, his mother's from Spain. And he's like, you're going to butcher it. And so I went up and I introduced it and I was like, Camilla Cabello. And I was like, and I got off stage and he's like, you did it wrong. And I was like, oh, great. And so then, they gave the award to Dave Chappelle, which they do every year. And then I left, right, because I had to get on a plane. So I went to the airport, and I'm looking through my Twitter, and people were like, Jim Gaffigan butchered Camilla Cabello's name. And I'm like, oh, great. All right, wow. And then, so then I got on the plane. I landed. I looked at my phone, and people were like, Jim Gaffigan's a racist. He's like, and I'm like, what? And just hundreds and hundreds of tweets. And so then what I eventually discovered is that somebody had posted that what is the huge K-pop group?
BTS?
BTS. Yeah. They had said that I had said something about COVID about BTS, which of course I didn't. And
that's one group you do not want to mess with.
And so like there's the BTS army.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so understandably these 13-year-old kids in Brazil and the Philippines are like, this guy's racist, let's go after him. And so just thousands and thousands. And so then I call my manager and he's like, we already know about this. And they're like, did you say that? I'm like, no, I didn't. Just find the
screen, like on camera you said something, or like
no, I think it was like for so like there was probably a camera, but I didn't say anything about BTS because that would be racist, right? And so I was like, I gotta address this. They're like, don't address it, don't do anything, it'll disappear. And so I'm like, really? I mean, I don't want some kid in, Mexico to think I'm racist, or I don't want some kid, I have kids. I don't want some kid in, Nebraska to think I'm racist. And they're like, forget it. It's going to go away. And so then the next morning I wake up and I couldn't really sleep because I was like, I don't want people to think I'm a horrible person. Yeah. And so then I woke up and I was like, you know what? I'm like, this is not true. And by the way, there were some people that were like, you should be able to say that.
Yeah,
of course. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't. And so then the next morning I woke up and I was like, I gotta clear the air. And like I was like, I never said anything, and it went away. Like the outrage machine had moved on to something else. And what someone explained to me, or this is just a theory, is that they were like, and that like, first of all, there are these armies, but there's also bots that create the outrage that are not necessarily hired by BTS, but like that are hired to like create some of this stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're telling me that? And then someone was like, it's very important for I don't know. There's just different theories. A lot of them are a conspiracy, but like it was so interesting to like, because I am this guy who doesn't really, I make a point of not offending people, to like be in that
If you can get caught up
that
in it,
cycle.
you know, anybody can.
And it was just crazy.
Have you? Do you do much internet, like social media?
I mean,
Are you...
I went through a phase where I would post on Twitter and stuff like that, but not, like now I'm kind of like, I use it for the purpose of promoting shows or videos or photos of my garden. But no, I don't use it as, it's like we all evolved and there's different purposes, right?
Yeah.
It is I've recently, it's probably I'm like 6 months clean now.
Yeah.
And it's jarring to like, 'cause I was saying I happened recently where I accidentally looked at mentions.
Yeah.
And like my mood changed so fast where I was like, no, that's not what I meant, or like,
yeah.
And then like it didn't send me in a spiral. Like pretty quickly it was like, that's crazy how fast that switch went off.
Oh yeah.
But it is when you're like, and then to realize you're like, this might not even be a fucking person right now. What
Right,
what am I
yeah.
doing?
Yeah, you
letting this
might
work?
be talking to a child. You might be talking to a robot. You might,
Yeah.
It's,
It is really. But by the way, the outrage stuff. I do these CBS Sunday commentaries. And this is not as cool as my gardening, but like where they're just kind of like, I just riff. I'm like, I don't want to travel during summer, like, and with each of and they're rather kind of like, basic kind of commentaries, complaining about this or that. And the amazing thing is there's people that are always upset. So like if I do something about the tooth fairy, they're like, people are like, how dare you, bring up the fact that the tooth fairy is not real. I watch this show every Sunday with my 4-year-old. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
But you also get and I'm not speaking for you, I'm speaking for myself. Like, I want to please you. I didn't know that was happening. I would have done it had I known that person was there.
Yeah.
I'm not. I think there are some people who enjoy and like their goal is to upset people and then get that sort of. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to like exist and have a good time and like if I had known your one single kid was there, I would have cut that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just didn't get the information.
Yeah, no, and I have friends. I mean, a lot of comedians love the shock and awe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
I used to get my juices flowing, and now I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Right?
It's like another day in the trenches. Where like, and then you realize that if like you don't have to. Like I used to be like, I know I have to like clarify what I meant or defend my position or defend the joke, and now I'm just like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Whatever, dude. Because you also realize it's never gonna stop.
Right.
You might prove maybe first of all, those people who like you are gonna like you. People who don't like you don't like you. There's no one who's gonna go, oh, that tweet changed my mind.
But no one should ever dislike me.
I agree.
You have got to be, I mean, one of the most likable people.
The best.
Do you get a lot of hate?
Not really. I don't think so.
You must live a pretty hateful
I mean,
life.
besides my dad, I would say most people like me.